it still was a huge thing for my goals. I took the library back. I'm not putting up this. It's not being done right. I had to do it. I'm writing and publishing and teaching. Is really a strong thing of working on what I thought was my purpose. So I had the confidence to be angry and take it back. When I let it go, I didn't have confidence. When I took it back, I didn't have the most confidence, but I gained more. I knew what was worse. The next time it came back 30 years later, in 2011, I had completed my main work. I'd been working on for 30 years on a book on the I Ching, really 40 years at that time, 40 some odd years, but I completed my treatise on the astrology and the I Ching and how they related. I'd worked on it. When I finished it, it's a book. It was a book, but a digital book. But it was 3,500 pages. It was too big to publish as a book. But still, it was an accomplishment. It was done. I got it out of me. So that was there. I created a dating app, and I had a trip to meet with a friend in Winnipeg that had computer skills, and we were working on developing graphic programs that would allow me to do the color charts. So I was defining goals and what to work on at that time too. So these were my three things: starting school, starting school, taking the library back and working on that and building up my career, working on the computer, finishing my book. And I had a really good trip at that point to Winnipeg and to some mystical sites in Ontario and Alberta. So these were strong defining points. Just looking at the stories, I don't see it exactly. I see the things, I don't see exactly that. I have to work it a little. I look at this, I have to think of those times and go through my history, which you're working on, hopefully, and go back over it and reflect on it. I spend a bit of time with it, and I see a whole much bigger story around defining the goals. But these goals are related to each other, how one cycle builds up, and you push it, you build up, then you react to it. So it goes around a cycle. But these are the three starting points in your life. If the first one starts before you're 15, it's not your choice at all. It's limited your choice. It's more your reaction from 15 to 16, so 15 to 30. But so the decisions you make from 30 till 60, the conjunction that happens in that period are really the powerful decisions in your lifetime. And actually, in that respect, I ran this library for 30 years, but it did run out. By the time the Saturn conjunction on the third time, the library was gone. So, I'm going to have to live into my 90s before I would get a third conjunction. But some people, if the conjunction starts at 27, the next one's going to be 57, and the next one will be 87. They're just going to get the three hits. So you want to see those were the starting points. That's what you're working to be responsible and start something, set something up, make something happen for you to define your goals. Or if you don't define them and work towards them, they're going to be defined for you. And so someone could get pregnant, have a kid, and suddenly I'm locked at this. I got to just take care of it. But even then, you'd be working on it to find something to work at. Take a course, take something, build up, work on something, get something else to do for yourself. So you're dealing with this, and you're setting some goals for yourself at the same time. One little aspect, but when it happens in our life, I mean, there's so many aspects. If you're just looking, comparing one chart to another, you're seeing so many different things. You don't get the time to stop and slow it down to see what's the most important things. Once you define your goals and you can pass through that defining your goals time, you're going to be trying to apply them in one way or another, or stretch them or work on them and build them up a little bit for the next 7 years. You're going to go in a certain way with it. It's like once you've started that, it's going to be 30 years before you define your goals again. You're going to be working on the results of what you've already set in motion. So by the time a depression hits somewhere, some restriction happens from Saturn coming in on their life, it's usually tied up to the last. When was the last goal set? What happened then? And what's happening now? So, yeah, so at each of the bends of my Saturn hitting the sun, there was a move and there was a change, a loss of an old world, the start of another world, and at each bend it came along like that. But the first 7 years, you're stretching and trying to apply these no goals. You're living your life. You got all these things going on. But what are you trying to work at? What are you trying to get better at? And, or if you're not working at it, a sense of inhibition. Oh, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. Builds up for the next 7 years. I mean, I'm talking to you. Usually in this class, there's a lot of given. When I taught it live, there was a lot of give and take. And we said, this happened to me, this happened to me, oh boy. And we talk about it. In this format, it's not possible to do this. So I just know, you have to see it for yourself and work the texture of it. And I know this is a gold mine. You just have to take a little time, reflect on, make the association of Saturn coming to your sun. And your sun works the way it does in your chart. Your sun, if you have your sun square Neptune and you're by nature an evasive or fanciful person, Saturn's going to come along and force you to be more real, a little bit more practical in your own dreamy way. Some commitment will come in one way or another. Some of you are over strict and over serious, and you get the Pluto or the Saturn aspects to your sun. Saturn's going to come in, and you're going to be, it's going to be right on top of you. I'm going to have to make this serious commitment. You're going to be more serious around it. So it depends on how your sun is, how stable your sun is. Whether if you have difficult outer planets, fear, confusion, shock, instability, you have those things affecting your sun, it's going to force you to be defensive to not let the craziness take away your life, and you're going to have to get a few practical things to start building up. If your sun doesn't have those things, and it's basically fairly confident, you're going to have to make the goals to see what else you can do. So when you're overcoming vulnerabilities, the second one, you're not wasting any more time. You're getting on to the next level of things. And it's going to be a cost. I'm going to have to let go of this. By the time you're 30, you can't go around hanging around with the 20-year-olds just watching the ball games anymore. Or trying to be like, it's changed. So this is Saturn. It's not wrong. It's not glamorous. It's just respectful, dignified, elegant. It has it's how we mature. But this focus of defining your goals and is such an important point. Now, once you get first to the 7 years, after you do 7 years working with those goals, you level off. I mean, all sorts of other aspects can be happening. So this can be easy or difficult, but the next 7 years goes on. And when Saturn comes up to conjunct, to square the waxing square to your sun, those goals aren't enough. It's going to take more effort than what you've been doing to take it further. You're either going to have to cut something back and work harder, or make more effort. Some adjustment or some pressure is going to come around this. It's going to force you to adjust your goals. So it's a simple word, adjust your goals. But literally, I did these graphs out for people, and I would have these keywords written in, and they work when I started having to adjust your goals. And then I'd be observing where their Saturn is, or I'd be asking questions about their responsibilities, their attitudes, what they're doing, and what they want to do, what they're not doing, what they think they can't do. And then I'd be working on them to, how do you adjust your goals to be able to keep going with something rather than nothing. You can't just push all the way, you have to adjust. And then once you make this adjustment, you can extend them further in a more refined manner. So this 7-year adjustment, that again, once you've gone through once you've gone through a Saturn cycle, you've been through everything before. So as you start going through from 30 on, you've been through it before. So you have the choice how it's supposed to work, because the extra effort you make as you're older starts creating a spiral. Instead of being a circle around your chart, it starts spiraling, so you get different experiences the next 30 years. And then more effort creates another different experience the next 30 years. But a lot of people, it just goes around once, and they hardly make any decision, and they go around make lateral moves, and they hardly get much of a spiral of accomplishment in their life. Similar things repeat, but the like each time, like at the conjunction, we moved, that went back, we started a new school, new place, whatever. Then by the square, we moved again, and I was a new kid in high school, and there was nobody, I was the outsider, so it was ostracizing, and I had bad friends and not many friends. And that was a difficult time trying to maintain in an adversarial city environment when I lived in a small town where I knew everybody before. So that was that adjustment from going forward to doing that. When I had the conjunction of taking the library back, being married, and trying to deal with all these things, the commitments were growing so much that the marriage fell away. and then shortly thereafter, and then I actually got married again, and I went on a tour with my book and my material set. The library part was really established with astrology, and then I went on a tour with my book. I'd written a book, and I was on a tour on the West Coast, and then I went to the East Coast, I went across Canada with my book lecturing and teaching. And on those ones, it was an adjustment of just taking the library back and working there to actually having to follow out of work based on works and efforts that I have. The next one, I just finished my book on the I Ching. It's 2011, so at this point I'm already 56, 55. Comes back, and the next it squares in 2020. So I'm in this phase now. So I've got all the initial work out of me. Now I have to work to get it applied and get it out there. So it's working. It's in terms of the web now and trying to get my material out. So, but there's a relationship between the conjunctions to square on each of these 3 cycles. It's like you're on a spiral looking down, seeing what happened each time before. And your dreams and your experiences are tied into this. So, like I said, as you're doing these, any dates you put out something down here for, you make sure it's in your history, and you keep building up your history and rethinking and adding more and more things to every, so you have things for every month of every year of your life. Because then as we go forward to other planets, you can go back, oh, that's there, oh, that's there. Everything else is add-ons to this, but when you're working with your Saturn, you see when your goals get started. Then you see when you have to make the adjustment. Then 7 years later, you're extending your work out as best as you can, whatever way you can. Or if you don't make decisions, then you're just having to adjust to the pressures, whatever's coming up. By the time Saturn gets to oppose your Sun, it's as far away from your goals as it can be. You've pushed it for 14 years. So if you pushed lack of work or laziness for these times, you're going to come up with a great sense of depression because you're not getting any respect for what you're doing. If you work really hard, you may be in a position where you're doing all this work and you're not getting the proper respect for it. So you're not getting the raises or promotions. You're feeling hemmed in and restricted by everything that you're doing or by the choices that you have. So these restrictions, you want to quit. You want to leave what you've done. Because this is all, see, you set things up when the conjunction, you build up over 15 years. You see, at 15 years later, you're saying, is this what I got? I did all that work and this is what I got? Or I did all this work and yeah, this is what I got. But usually it's, I got this position, look how hard I'm working. I can't keep working like this. Or there's so many commitments, I'm burned out. Or I'm in a relationship, I'm not happy. It's dry, it's depressing me. All these restrictions come up, challenging your heart and your goals and your sense of purpose. When Saturn's opposing your Sun, you're as far away from your specific goals and purpose as you can be. It's like, it's not like the cards are stacked against you. You're just at a limit and you can't push your discipline or your authority anymore. And if you do, more limiting things will come. You have to learn what to cut back on. Like the tendency is it starts coming, I want to quit this job. I want to quit this business. I want to get out of this. I want to get out of the marriage. I want to stop this. Or you have the first reaction, I'm depressed. So I'm going to try and get out of this and avoid it. You can't really avoid it. And but trying to leave something right away, really, you've got 15 years invested in this thing that's restricting you and depressing you now. So this attitude that this isn't going where I want it to be, and why bother anymore if it's not what I wanted to do? I'm not getting as far when the glamour is not there. And you're looking at this, it's easy to talk yourself out. So you know at the Saturn opposite what you don't want to do. You know I can't do this or I don't want to do this anymore. But really, usually you have too much to lose to just suddenly leave it. It's a Saturn, it's a slow, it's a steady, it's like inside depression is the energy to make you, is the solution to inside the inhibition or depression is the energy of what to work at, where to direct effort. So usually with this time, if you see, so if you leave, you're in a business that worked and all of a sudden it's not working anymore, you got a partner that's not working, it's depressing, you want to get out. You say, well, I'm going to meet someone else. So you meet someone else and you start talking about setting up a new business with the others and you leave your partner and you go in the other way. Or you leave your marriage and you start another relationship. Well, if you start another relationship or start a business on this Saturn opposed your Sun, it's going to be limiting you and restricting you all your life. You're not going to get necessarily the best energy to go with. You're crystallizing that difficult thing on the next cycle, the next half of the cycle.